Welcome to Cosmic Bedtime. Tonight, let's drift gently into the stars together. As the world quiets down, we'll follow a tiny spacecraft on a journey beyond our solar system, carrying with it a golden message from Earth. This is the story of Voyager 1's golden record, a love letter to the universe. Now, take a deep breath. Get comfortable. And let's begin. In the quiet hours before dawn on September 5, 1977, a slender spacecraft rose from Earth atop a plume of fire and thunder. It was small by cosmic standards, barely the size of a compact car, yet its destination was immeasurably vast, the infinite deep of interstellar space. Voyager 1 was never meant to return. Unlike other missions designed to loop back or orbit close, Voyager had a singular goal: to go outward, ever outward, leaving the cradle of Earth behind and carrying with it a silent message, etched in gold. At the time, the world below was restless. The Cold War still cast long shadows. There was tension, fear, division. But beyond the headlines, a dream was stirring, one shared by scientists, poets, philosophers, and dreamers alike. It was the dream of reaching beyond ourselves. Of saying, "We were here." Voyager 1 was part of a twin mission. Its sibling, Voyager 2, launched just 16 days earlier, took a different path and remains on its own silent journey. But Voyager 1 would become the faster of the two, the first human-made object to venture beyond the protective bubble of our solar system and into the uncharted darkness between the stars. At its core, Voyager was a scientific mission. It carried instruments to study Jupiter and Saturn, their moons, their magnetic fields. But hidden aboard its side, fastened like a secret love note, was something unlike anything sent into space before: the golden record. A gold-plated copper disc, carefully engraved and encased to last 1 billion years or more, the record contained a selection of images, sounds, music, and greetings from Earth. Not because we thought it would be found. Not because we needed a reply. But because sending it was the most hopeful, most human thing we could do. Imagine it, a tiny emissary from a small blue world, sailing into the cosmic dark, holding in its metal frame the whispers of oceans, the laughter of children, the notes of Bach and blues and gamelan, and the simple word, hello, spoken in 55 languages. It was a bottle cast into the celestial sea. Carl Sagan, one of the minds behind the golden record, called it a present from a small distant world. He understood the odds. No one may ever find it. The record may drift for billions of years through the black. But Sagan also understood something deeper, that to send such a message was an act not of science, but of love, because even in our aloneness, even in our fleeting moment on the cosmic stage, we chose to reach out. Voyager 1 sped past Jupiter, then Saturn, capturing images that no human eye had ever seen before. It showed us the storms of gas giants, the icy rings of Saturn, and moons so strange they looked like worlds from dreams. But even as it did its work, its trajectory bent outward, away from the warmth of the sun. By 1990, its cameras would be shut down forever to save power. But before the final switch, it turned back one last time, 6 billion kilometers from home, and took a photograph that changed the way we see ourselves. In that image, just a few scattered pixels, Earth appears as a faint pale suspended in a beam of scattered light. A mote of dust in a sunbeam. That photo would become iconic. And Voyager, with its golden gift, continued drifting outward, into silence. Today, Voyager 1 is still moving, still transmitting faint signals. It has traveled so far that it takes over 22 hours for a message to reach it. And yet, in that distance, it carries something no other object does, a summary of our world, meant not for us, but for them, whoever they might be. Think about that for a moment. In all the vastness of the cosmos, we have sent a tiny vessel bearing songs, languages, images, the sound of heartbeat and kiss and thunder. Not for glory, not for science alone, but because we couldn't bear the thought of not saying something. Voyager 1 reminds us that even the smallest voice can carry far in the right silence, as the spacecraft disappears into the dark. It leaves us with a question that is as beautiful as it is haunting. If someone finds this someday, will they understand us? Will they know who we were? Or at the very least, that we tried, and so begins our journey, not just through space, but through meaning. What is the golden record? What did we choose to include, and why? What does it say about who we were in 1977? And who we still are today? Let's follow this message in a bottle, through memory, music, and mystery, and explore the most poetic artifact ever sent into the stars. What do you choose to say, when you are speaking not just to someone far away, but to something, or someone, you may never meet at all? When Voyager 1 launched in 1977, it carried more than just sensors and cameras. Tucked carefully within its frame was a 12-inch gold-plated copper disc, the golden record. It was designed to last 1 billion years, a time capsule, floating through the galaxy. A whisper from humanity to the stars. Inside were sounds, languages, music, and images, fragments of who we are, and who we hope to be. The contents were chosen by a small team, led by astronomer Carl Sagan, who had just a few weeks to compile the most meaningful snapshot of Earth possible. Imagine having to decide, on behalf of every human who has ever lived, what music best represents us, what languages to include, what pictures to show of our planet. There was no universal agreement, no council of the world's nations, just a handful of scientists, philosophers, and artists, doing their best to bottle Earth's spirit in a single message. The record begins with a greeting, not one, but 55 of them, each in a different human language, from English and Mandarin to ancient Akkadian. There's a spoken message from the then UN Secretary General, and a printed inscription from US President Jimmy Carter. It reads, "This is a present from a small distant world. A token of our sounds, our science, our images, our music, our thoughts and our feelings. We are attempting to survive our time so we may live into yours." Poetic, humble, hopeful. Next came the sounds of Earth, rain falling, crickets singing, a mother kissing her child, footsteps, heartbeats, laughter, as if to say, we are alive. We feel. We love. And then, there was music, 27 tracks from across cultures and centuries, from Bach to Beethoven, from traditional Japanese shakuhachi flute to Senegalese percussion, from Australian Aboriginal songs to Louis Armstrong's jazz trumpet. No song alone could speak for all of Earth, but together, they formed a kind of musical collage, not a statement, but an offering, a melody stitched from many corners of our world. Then came the images, over 100 photographs and diagrams, encoded as analog data, meant to be viewed by an intelligent species who might decode the technology. They showed DNA strands, The anatomy of humans, a mother nursing her baby. A school classroom, and even a grocery store aisle. There were scientific diagrams of our solar system, maps of Earth's continents, instructions on how to play the record. There were no selfies, no advertisements, no borders, just humanity, laid bare. The golden record wasn't just a scientific gesture, it was an emotional one. It said, "This is us. We exist. And we want to be understood." Even if no one ever finds it, the act of sending it, of crafting it, was an act of hope, a whisper into the dark, believing that somewhere, someone might one day listen. In the quiet stillness of interstellar space, Voyager 1 drifts farther and farther away from Earth. But inside its heart, a gold-plated phonograph record, echoes of our world continue to whisper across the darkness. What does Earth sound like? If you could close your eyes and hear humanity without ever seeing us, what would you hear? Carl Sagan and his team faced this question when crafting the golden record. They didn't just want to say who we are. They wanted to let it be heard, and so, they gathered the sounds of Earth, a symphony not of one voice, but of many, human, animal, natural, and cosmic. The first sound on the record is as humble as it is profound, a kiss, the soft sound of human lips meeting in gentle affection. No introduction. No words. Just the quiet press of tenderness. A reminder that before we build civilizations, we love, then come the heartbeat and the laugh, primal rhythms of life. The beating of a human heart, thudding softly but surely, followed by the joyous, spontaneous laughter of a woman. It's not staged. It's not rehearsed. It's raw, pure joy. It tells the universe, we feel. We love. We laugh. And then come the voices of our world, the cries of a newborn baby, a sound that has echoed for thousands of generations. It's a noise every human has made, though none of us remember it. There are greetings in 55 languages, spoken by real people from across the earth. Some voices are old. Some young. Some from languages now barely spoken. Each one begins the same way, a simple message of peace, and woven between those voices are the other voices of Earth, waves crashing on a shore, thunder rumbling through the sky, the song of a nightingale, the deep, resonant call of a humpback whale. The whale's song is particularly striking, long, melodic, mournful. It's believed that whales sing to communicate across great distances in the ocean. And now, their voice carries farther than any whale could have dreamed, out into the stars. Some scientists have speculated that if any intelligent life were to find the Voyager record, they might understand the mathematics of music better than our spoken words. After all, sound is vibration. Music is pattern. Perhaps these rhythms, encoded in physics, might transcend species. And so, the golden record includes music, not just one kind, but many. The Voyager team selected 27 pieces of music from around the world. Ancient and modern. East and West. Traditional and experimental, from Bach to Blind Willie Johnson, from Senegalese percussion to Japanese shakuhachi, from a Peruvian wedding song to a Navajo night chant, each track a fragment of beauty. A glimpse into the emotional spectrum of our species, but perhaps none of them carries the weight of Beethoven's String Quartet No. 13 in B major, Op. 130, Cavatina. This quiet, tender movement is believed to be one of Beethoven's most personal compositions. It's introspective. melancholic, almost fragile. Carl Sagan said that when the record played for the first time during testing, and the cavatina began to play, people in the room wept, and perhaps they wept because, in that moment, they understood, this is us. Not our buildings, not our machines, but our hearts. Our longing. Our sadness. Our tenderness. Somewhere in the middle of the track list is a hauntingly beautiful piece. Dark was the night, cold was the ground by Blind Willie Johnson. It's not a song with words. It's a blues guitar and a moaning, wordless voice, a spiritual lament. Johnson, who was blind from age 7 and lived most of his life in poverty, recorded the song in 1927, when asked why this song was chosen. The team explained, Johnson's song captures the feeling of loneliness and isolation, an emotion any being, anywhere, might recognize. It is, in essence, the sound of longing. And what is Voyager, if not a vessel of longing? The golden record does not just present facts, it sings. It laughs. It aches, it doesn't shout. It whispers, because what Voyager carries is not a statement of pride, but a message of hope, hope that someone, somewhere, might understand the songs of Earth. That they might recognize that this fragile blue dot was once full of life, of music, of curiosity, and of love, and even if no one ever hears it, even if Voyager drifts forever in silence, the music still matters, because we dared to send it, because we dared to believe that someone might listen, because in the quiet of the cosmos, we chose not to remain silent, we chose to sing. When we think about what it means to represent humanity, we often picture monuments, flags, famous faces, or grand achievements. But for the Voyager Golden Record, NASA chose a different path. Instead of showcasing our power or our pride, they selected something far more profound, images of the ordinary. These were not photographs meant to impress. They were not curated to flaunt our superiority or technological mastery. Instead, the 116 images encoded into the record offer a quiet, humble glimpse into life on Earth. They are postcards from home, meant not to brag, but to share. Meant not to dominate, but to connect. Imagine a distant intelligence finding Voyager thousands, even millions of years from now. What might they think as they view a photograph of a mother breastfeeding her child? Or two human hands, one of an elderly man, the other of a young girl, touching gently across the generations? These images speak no particular language, but they resonate with a universal truth. Life is complex, emotional, and deeply rooted in relationships. There's an image of a violin, symbolizing music, art, and the abstract beauty we create just for the sake of joy. Another shows a page from Isaac Newton's Principia Mathematica, reminding the cosmos that we are capable of deep thought, of grasping the invisible forces that bind the stars together. And then there are the truly simple things. A supermarket aisle. A farmer in the field. People eating. People laughing. Children in a classroom. These are not spectacles. They are slices of everyday life, quiet proof that what makes us human isn't necessarily the extraordinary, but the ordinary lived with love and intention. One photograph depicts a father and daughter eating a meal together. Another shows a woman licking an ice cream cone, caught in a moment of delight. To us, these seem mundane. But when viewed from a cosmic perspective, from a world that may have never seen such things, they become sacred. They become poetry. There are pictures of animals, elephants, birds, fish, frogs. They are our companions on this earth, our fellow travelers. In including them, we acknowledge that we are not alone even on our own planet, that life here takes many shapes, and all of it matters. There's even a photograph of Earth itself, seen from space, a blue and white swirl suspended in blackness. Not as a symbol of domination, but as a fragile marble, adrift in a cosmic sea. A reminder of just how small we are. And how connected, but the images aren't just about life, they're about context. There are scientific diagrams, our solar system, the structure of DNA, human anatomy. We wanted to show not only who we are, but how we think. That we are curious. That we measure, question, and seek to understand. These diagrams act as bridges, attempts to build a shared foundation with an unknown recipient who might interpret reality in a completely different way. Still, no matter how technical or abstract, each image carries a whisper of emotion. Because beneath the science is always the human story, our desire to be known. Our hunger to reach across time and space, our hope that someone, somewhere, might understand. Carl Sagan once said, "The record is a message in a bottle, cast into the cosmic ocean." And within that bottle are these pictures, carefully chosen, lovingly encoded, carried farther and farther from us with each passing second. They are frozen moments in time. Snapshots of a species still very young, still grappling with its place in the universe. They tell no lies. They make no promises. But they offer something far more rare, authenticity, and maybe, just maybe, that's what makes them beautiful. To imagine another being, in a distant galaxy, decoding those images, seeing a newborn baby, a sunset, a traffic jam, a smiling couple, it's both thrilling and humbling. Because in that moment, across light years and centuries, a piece of us would be seen. Not just as data, not as specimens, but as people, and perhaps that's the greatest message of all, that amidst the vast machinery of the universe, there are stories. There is love. There is life, and we sent that message. With open hands. Behind every choice made for the Voyager golden record, there were people. Real people. Scientists, artists, engineers, writers, dreamers, each carrying their own hopes, fears, and visions of what it meant to speak for humanity. It's easy to look at the golden record and see it as a sterile scientific object, a calculated project aimed at extraterrestrial communication. But the truth is more poetic. The record wasn't just a product of logic. It was built with heart. At the center of it all was Dr. Carl Sagan, the famous astronomer whose passion for space was matched only by his passion for humanity. Sagan didn't see the cosmos as cold or indifferent. He saw it as a vast sea of potential connection. And he believed deeply in our need to reach out. Sagan led a small team of visionaries, each bringing their own unique background. They had only a few months to compile a portrait of Earth, of us. What would they include? What would they leave out? Every decision held weight. Every image, every sound, every greeting recorded on that disc. It all had to say something meaningful, and yet, as rushed and chaotic as it may have been, the result feels almost timeless. There was Andrew Yen, a writer and producer who became the creative director for the record. She was tasked with making impossible decisions: how to condense the essence of our species into just a few images and sounds. How to convey love, family, pain, joy, and intelligence without words. At one point, she had an idea: radical, strange, and beautiful. She would record the electrical impulses of her own brain and nervous system. During the experience of falling in love, that's not metaphor. That's what she did. In a 60-second recording, her heartbeat, her brain waves, her body's hidden symphony, all of it was digitized and etched into the record. In that moment, she was in love with Carl Sagan, though they hadn't yet spoken those words aloud to each other. And so, in the quiet of a lab, with electrodes gently attached to her skin, she recorded the invisible. The result is perhaps the most poetic inclusion on the record, the literal impression of a human being experiencing love. Then there was Timothy Ferris, the music curator, who carefully selected 27 tracks to represent Earth's diverse cultures. From Bach to Blind Willie Johnson, from Senegalese percussion to Japanese shakuhachi, Ferris saw music not just as sound, but as feeling. As language without translation, each person involved wrestled with the same question: how do we speak for everyone, when we are only ourselves? They knew their selections would be imperfect, incomplete, and subjective. But they also believed that imperfection was part of being human. That it was better to send a flawed, honest message than a sanitized one. The team faced technical challenges too. There were constraints on data size. There were political limitations. Some governments protested the inclusion of certain images or greetings. And of course, the clock was ticking. Voyager had a launch date, and it wasn't going to wait. Still, they worked. Not for money. Not for recognition. But for the dream that maybe, someday, someone would find their message. It's easy to romanticize the golden record now, decades later. But at the time, this project was deeply uncertain. There was no guarantee anyone would ever see or hear what they had created. And yet, they poured themselves into it as if it mattered, because to them, it did. They weren't just making a message for aliens. They were making a mirror for us, a reminder that in a time of division, war, and noise, there were still people trying to speak with kindness. Still people willing to say, "This is who we are, and we want to share it." It's hard to imagine another project like this happening today, a moment when science, art, and philosophy came together not for profit or politics, but simply to tell a story. A human story. One of laughter and pain, of questions and wonder, of strangers dreaming into the stars. And perhaps that is what makes the Voyager Golden Record so powerful. It wasn't created by governments. It wasn't shaped by algorithms or PR teams. It was made by a handful of human beings who believed, quietly, stubbornly, that we were worth remembering, not because we are perfect, but because we are alive. If you were given the chance to say one thing to the universe, just one phrase, one emotion, one gesture, what would it be? Would you say hello? Would you say I love you? Would you say goodbye? On the Voyager Golden Record, humanity tried to say all three. Among the contents of the record are 55 greetings in different languages, each one short, simple, and spoken by a human voice representing their part of the world. They say things like, "Peace and happiness to all. Greetings to our friends in the stars. Hello from the children of planet Earth. Some are poetic. Some are practical. Some sound like whispers in the dark, but taken together, they form a chorus, a global voice calling out across an unimaginable distance. Not with fear, not with aggression, but with openness. It's strange and beautiful, that in the face of the unknown, we chose to say hello, and then, there's the music, which, in many ways, speaks louder than the greetings. These melodies carry emotion more purely than any sentence ever could. Among the most haunting is Blind Willie Johnson's "Dark was the night, cold was the ground." A wordless blues song full of longing. Johnson didn't have a microphone in a modern studio. He recorded that track in 1927, blind and poor, scraping emotion from a steel guitar. And yet, that raw sound now sails among the stars, his pain, his prayer, drifting eternally. There's also the laughter of a child. And the kiss of a mother, recorded in sound. These aren't messages of science. They are messages of feeling. The record carries fingerprints of love, not romantic or dramatic, but quiet, everyday love. Then there is one final layer, Andrian's brainwaves, recorded shortly after she had fallen in love with Carl Sagan. Her mind, literally in the moment of love, etched into gold. No words. No explanations. Just the electrical pattern of affection. Think about that. Of all the things we could send, we sent love, not just the idea, but its very signature. To say, we loved. Once. And maybe, you do too. But here's what's most profound about the golden record. Even though we called it a message to the stars, many now believe it was actually a message for ourselves. Carl Sagan once said, "The spacecraft will be encountered and the record played only if there are advanced spacefaring civilizations in interstellar space." But the launching of this bottle into the cosmic ocean says something very hopeful about life on this planet. In other words, the act of sending the record matters more than whether it's ever received, because to send a message like this, to pause, reflect, and say, "Here's who we are," is an act of faith. Not religious faith, but human faith. Faith that even if we vanish, some small part of us might remain. That even in the face of our own mortality, we chose to speak gently. Voyager 1 is now more than 24 billion kilometers from Earth. It has passed the planets. It has left the solar system. It is sailing through interstellar space. The golden record is still there, bolted to its side. It carries no transmitter, no signal. It doesn't broadcast. It simply waits, for whom? We don't know. It might drift forever, unseen by any eyes. It might be found by no one. It might last longer than Earth itself, and yet. We sent it anyway. We said hello, knowing we might never hear a reply. We said I love you, knowing it might never be understood. We said goodbye, knowing it might be permanent. It is a farewell gift from humanity, not just to aliens, but to time itself, a whisper across billions of years, saying, we were here. We felt. We dreamed. We reached. When the last notes of Beethoven's Fifth fade into the void, when the final heartbeat encoded in the golden record dissolves into cosmic silence, Voyager does not stop, it simply drifts on. There's something hauntingly beautiful about that. Long after the engineers who built it are gone, long after the languages on Earth have changed, long after the lights of cities flicker out, Voyager will still be moving, calm, unhurried, and free. Voyager isn't just a machine anymore, it's become something else, a myth, maybe, a symbol, an emissary. We sent it to explore, but now it has outlived its mission and taken on a new one, to remind us of who we are, even after we're gone. In 2012, Voyager 1 did something no human-made object had ever done. It crossed into interstellar space. It broke free from the sun's protective bubble, the heliosphere, and entered the vast, cold sea between the stars. That moment wasn't marked by fireworks or celebration, just a subtle change in the data, a shift in particles, a whisper that Voyager had slipped silently into the unknown. Think about that. A small spacecraft the size of a compact car, launched in 1977, powered by less computing power than a modern calculator, now floats farther from Earth than any human-made object in history. It travels more than 17 kilometers every second, and yet, it feels like it's not running from anything. Just gliding, forever forward. There's no path, no destination, no one guiding it anymore. The commands from Earth now take over 22 hours to reach Voyager 1, a whisper sent across a yawning void, with no guarantee it will ever be heard. And still, it listens, its antenna still pointed back toward the pale blue dome, still hoping for a call from home. In a way, Voyager has become like a lonely sailor, adrift on an eternal sea, its sails catching the winds of gravity, its course shaped by ancient stars. Every day, it gets a little further from us, and a little closer to the edge of our imagination. But here's the wonder, even though it drifts farther, Voyager remains tethered to us, not by cables or wires, but by memory, by meaning, by the dreams we packed into its copper heart. It carries our greetings, our laughter, our music, our stories. It carries us, and yet, someday, Voyager's radioisotope power will fade, its instruments will fall silent, its antenna will no longer whisper back to Earth. When that happens, Voyager won't stop, it will just continue, quietly, peacefully, indifferently. It will pass other stars, perhaps in 40,000 years, brushing near one. It may never be seen, it may never be heard, but it will still be there, and perhaps, just perhaps, that's enough. Because Voyager isn't just traveling through space, it's traveling through time, a time capsule, a relic, a lullaby we sang to the universe when we were young. And as we imagine it out there, sailing forever through the darkness, bathed in starlight, we can't help but wonder, are we still on that journey with it? Did we send it out there? Or did it carry a part of us that always wanted to go, perhaps? In some quiet, poetic way, Voyager is us, and maybe its endless journey isn't just through space, but through the deepest parts of our soul. In 1990, as Voyager 1 was preparing to leave the solar system for good, astronomer Carl Sagan had one final request. He asked NASA to turn Voyager's camera back toward Earth, to take one last photograph of home. The result was a single image, seemingly insignificant at first glance, a sunbeam cutting across the darkness, and within it, a tiny speck, less than a pixel wide. That was Earth, that was us. Every person who has ever lived, every story ever told, every moment of joy, sorrow, triumph, and tragedy, all of it compressed into that faint blue dot, floating in the vast emptiness. No borders, no wars, no nations, just home. It's humbling, and heartbreaking, and beautiful beyond measure. Carl Sagan would later write words that echo still, like a quiet prayer carried on solar winds. Look again at that's here, that's home, that's us. And suddenly, Voyager's journey wasn't just about distance, it became a mirror. We looked outward, and found ourselves looking inward. That pale blue dot reminds us how fragile we are, how small, how temporary, and yet, it also shows how precious life is, how rare it may be in the cosmic sea. It challenges the illusions we hold on to, our imagined importance, our endless conflicts, our pride. And it invites us to see Earth as it truly is, a shared vessel, spinning in silence, carrying everything we've ever known. Think of Voyager again, billions of kilometers away, its camera long turned off, its data slowing to silence. But that photo, that single moment, when we dared to look back, it gave us a new perspective. From out there, there are no boundaries, no rich or poor, no winners or losers, just a species, trying to understand itself. And so, in a way, Voyager gave us a gift we didn't expect, not just a glimpse of the stars, but a chance to see ourselves more clearly. It's easy to feel insignificant when we gaze into the cosmos, but maybe significance doesn't come from size. Maybe it comes from love, from awareness, from the courage to care for something so delicate. Our pale blue dot is still spinning, still alive, still full of music and laughter and dreams. And maybe, as we continue to explore the stars, we'll carry that lesson with us, that Earth is not just a place, it's a treasure, a miracle, a reminder that in the darkness, beauty can still bloom. We looked back once, and saw our reflection in the void. Perhaps one day, someone, or something, will find Voyager, hear our message, and learn that on a tiny blue world, life once danced beneath a golden sun. Voyager 1 is now over 20 billion kilometers away, sailing through the interstellar medium, a place where the solar winds grow faint, and the sun is just another distant star. It carries no fuel to steer, no camera to see, no voice to cry out for help, only momentum, and the golden record. And so we wonder, will anyone ever find it? The odds are, in a word, astronomical. Space is vast beyond imagination. Even our closest neighboring stars are light years away, their planets, if any, scattered like dust across a galactic wind. The Voyager probes are not heading toward any particular destination. They wander, free, aimless, silent, a message in a bottle cast into an ocean larger than anything we can comprehend. And yet, we sent them anyway. Maybe someone, or something, will intercept it. Maybe a civilization far older and wiser, cruising the galaxy in silence, might one day pick up our lonely emissary. And if they do, what will they hear? What will they think of us? Will they understand our math, our music, our laughter, our mistakes? Will they know how much we hoped someone was listening? Or maybe, no one ever will. Maybe the golden record will drift forever, a silent witness to a species that once was. Maybe it will pass by suns that never know it came, or be lost in the cold between stars, where even time feels frozen. And yet, this possibility doesn't diminish its meaning. In fact, it's what makes the record beautiful, because it was never a guarantee. It was a gesture, a symbol, a statement of who we were, and what we dared to believe. It's not the chance of being heard that defines Voyager's message. It's the act of sending it, to carve music into metal, to press greetings into gold, to place our soul onto a disc, and let it go into the unknown. That is the poetry of Voyager. It says, we were here, we existed, and we tried to matter. Voyager reminds us that hope doesn't require an audience, that meaning can come not just from reception, but from the offering itself. It teaches us that even in the face of cosmic silence, there is nobility in the whisper, there is courage in the question, there is wonder in the waiting, and perhaps, 1 billion years from now, long after the last human breath has faded, Voyager will still be drifting, still holding our songs, still cradling our dreams, and even if no one ever hears them, they were sung, and that is enough. When we think of messages, we often imagine words, letters on a page, voices across a wire, but Voyager's golden record is something else. It is a message without an address, a greeting with no guaranteed listener, a song sung into the void, not because someone is there, but because we needed to sing it. What makes it beautiful is not just the music, or the greetings in 55 languages, or the images etched in copper and gold. It is the intention, the radical, almost childlike belief that in this vast and ancient cosmos, our story was worth sharing. Think of what we chose to send: a heartbeat, the sound of waves, a mother's kiss, a child's laughter, the crackle of fire, the cry of a baby, a blind girl's description of sight, a Bach concerto, Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good, and a message from the UN Secretary General, to beings we weren't sure even existed. We sent them our peace, our curiosity, our longing, our invitation. It wasn't perfect. How could it be? We were sending a portrait of a planet that still struggled with war, poverty, and injustice. A planet filled with both brilliance and brutality, but we chose to show our best selves, not to lie, but to hope. We wanted whoever found it to see, not just what we were, but what we hoped to become, and in doing so, we revealed something profound, that even in our earliest age of space exploration, we weren't just trying to escape Earth, we were trying to carry its soul. That golden record, barely larger than a dinner plate, holds the essence of 8 billion hearts, not because it captures every detail, but because it dares to say, we are small, but we are not insignificant. Carl Sagan once said that the Voyager record might be the only thing that survives of us one day, that long after the last book crumbles, after the last city falls, after the sun itself burns out, this tiny spacecraft might still be drifting, silently holding the spark of who we once were. And maybe that's enough, because beauty, in its truest form, isn't measured by reception, it's measured by sincerity. The golden record is beautiful, not because of what it might do, but because of what it means. It's not a cry of desperation, it's a gesture of grace, a message not of conquest, but of connection, not of fear, but of wonder. So when we look up at the night sky and think of Voyager sailing somewhere beyond the stars, we are reminded, not of what we've lost, but of what we dared to give: a kiss blown into the dark, a song offered without demand, a letter sealed with hope. Perhaps, in all of human history, this is the most beautiful message we've ever sent, and perhaps, that's how the universe will remember us. Thank you for joining me on this quiet journey through space and time. As Voyager continues its endless voyage into the cosmic dark, perhaps it's comforting to know that a part of us is out there, still traveling, still whispering, still hoping. If this story brought you a moment of wonder or stillness, I invite you to stay connected with us. Subscribe to Cosmic Bedtime for more stories beneath the stars, where science and soul meet under a quiet sky. Until next time, rest well, and keep looking up.